The next item of business is to consider resolution number R15 to
24.
24. We moved down.
That's right.
Okay. That one would be all right, I'm going back up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, R15 to 24. Do I need a motion to adopt?
You want me to read it first?
Yes, but we don't need to do by title only, right? Okay,
Not yet.
there we go.
Want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Resolution R15-224, resolution awarding the annual supply contract to Univar USA, Inc. for fluorostatic acid. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you'll now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
I move for adoption of this resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and who is going to talk about it?
Larry, man.
That would be Larry. Oh, I mean Santa.
Come on, you guys called me Moses last night.
Moses, yeah.
I forgot it wasn't November.
He is a man of disguises, though, isn't he?
It's paid off. This request would enable the annual supply contract agreement for the provider of, in layman's terms, fluoride. As you know, we are preparing to introduce fluoride into our water process treatment. In doing so, I might add, in accordance with Act 197, which was adopted 2010 by the legislature. We did an RFQ. We solicited 11 vendors. 3 responded. Of those 3, this particular company, Univar, was both the lowest bidder and compliant with the specs. So based on that, we are requesting and recommending that we award them this annual supply contract.
Larry, would you mind sharing with the board some of the specifications, like the certification of this chemical?
Well, there are essentially 2 that are considered the most important. That's the ANSI NSF 60. Okay, and that deals with all of the criteria that has been established by the industry and by those who use this in other municipalities as the standard by which we are to go from. And that's what we chose to do. We actually utilized our consulting engineer, Chris, to help us establish this standard and specification, as we were unfamiliar with this particular chemical at that point.
Did you require that the manufacturer come from the United States?
Yes, we did, and they supported that documentation.
Not China.
Not China.
Okay. Anything else you need to tell us?
Only that we will be commissioning that system early next week. We will make proper notifications through the avenues available, social media, websites, other things that we can do. I think Lance talked about possibly doing it with a billing notification as well. But when we introduce it, honestly, you won't know the difference.
Okay.
Well, I'd just like you to reiterate that this is not something that the City of Hot Springs took on its own to do, that this was a state mandate that we introduce fluoride into our water.
Yes, sir. That was a requirement by the state legislature that we do so.
Okay.
Okay. And is that all you need to tell us? And since we didn't have a sign-up sheet, I'm going to let anyone that wanted to speak to that issue for your 3 minutes, okay? And if you have any questions, we'll call you back. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. And state your name and address so that we can
My name
have
is
it on.
Crystal Harvey, 699 Nature Drive, Hot Springs. Thank you so much for allowing me to have this opportunity, and I wanted to let y'all know that you have a very big decision other than just the price of the chemical and whether it comes from the United States or China. I'd like to give you a brief history. The FDA and the EPA were having a big discussion of who was going to regulate the fluoridation chemical. And in 1988, the EPA decided to give that regulatory authority to the states. And the states were to decide whether they were going to follow NSF Standard 60 and the AWWA standards or make their own standards. Now, NSF stands for National Sanitation Foundation, and they also regulate things like fire extinguishers, water filters, automobile parts. But this is the only actual chemical that they regulate. So the state of Arkansas enacted into law that they would follow the Standard 60 and the AWWA standards. Well, I'm a little bit more curious than that, so I wanted to see what the standard said. And in order to get the NSF Standard 60, it costs over $350 to purchase it. Most water companies do not even have the standard. They go by what the health department tells them that it says. The AWWA standards is also something that you had to purchase. I've talked to many water districts across the state. They do not even actually have those standards, so they're going by what the health department tells them. I have a Attorney General's opinion stating that the Arkansas Health Department has to follow all the rules and regulations. They can't pick and choose what they want to follow and what they don't want to follow. And I realize that the Health Department comes in and tells y'all what you're supposed to do. But I dug a little bit deeper. And in the NSF Standard 60, there's a certain criteria that says that the manufacturer must provide at a minimum. And in a moment, I'd like to read those to you. But in the AWWA standards, it says, in order to protect the consumers, it's a consumer protection thing, and I know that none of y'all really wanted to do this, so I'm reaching out and asking for y'all to follow all of the laws. And that law says that whenever that product arrives at its destination, which is here with y'all because it's been dumped into your lap, the state of Arkansas has dumped it into y'all to decide what chemical to use to put in our water. This chemical is a contaminated chemical, and it's been tested, and it contains arsenic and lead and mercury, radiocides. And the AWWA standards is actually set up for the person that receives the chemical when it arrives at their destination, for this chemical to be tested. Because frankly, I don't believe, I'm not going to take their word of what's in it. So I would like for y'all to please look at the AWWA standards. We will be getting y'all to enforce the fact that this is tested. It's supposed to arrive with a chemical analysis, and it's also, there's other criteria for the standards that we want this to be followed. And so before you decide to purchase this chemical, I have given the information to Mr. Albright, and I believe that this warrants further discussion.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Harvey. Okay. Yes. Yeah, you may.
Hi, my name's Tori Marin. I live at 1800 Shady Grove. She pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. I'm probably in a little bit different situation, but I'm really here just to ask you a question, and I'm just going to kind of run a few things down before I ask the question. But, you know, fluoridation, it's been around for a long time, and it's been used for many things and in many ways during the war for making people docile. There's no real 100% proof that, you know, this is a safe product for us. The unfortunate thing today is that it is the fluoride. It comes from a captive pollutant from fertilizer industries, and it's hazardous and it's toxic. And to try to, they can't get rid of it in the oceans anymore. They can't dump it on lands anymore from the damage that it's done. So they're putting it in our water to get rid of it so that we consume it. And I just think it's something that we really need to try to, you know, take a better look at. And I think what my question is to you is, I know a lot of people. I'm also looking out for the people of Hot Springs, people with kidney problems, thyroid problems. This isn't going to do very well for them. People with any type of, you know, Hot Springs is a group of older people. I think it's going to be tough on them too. But my question is to you, because I know a lot of people out there that are real leery of this and prefer that it's not here in our city, is that if we got a committee together, would the board of directors, would you be willing to work with us to try to get it out like other states have and other cities have? There are some states that are now having what's called the opt-out option, and I'd like to be able to try to do that for us. We're such a great town with such great water. We have the hot springs. We have people that want to come here and enjoy everything. And I think, you know, fluorinating our water with something that's this toxic, to just get rid of it is something we really do need to try to work together and maybe get it out of our town. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Merriman, you want to say anything else about that or any comments?
Actually, I couldn't add any comment other than, again, we are complying with a mandate.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I can add is something that Mr. Merriman stated earlier, Mayor. The only two standards that we can meet is the NSF standard and the ANSI standard 60. We are making sure that we're complying with that as well as complying to the Arkansas law. We will have the Department of Health here when we start that implementation process. They will be here to calibrate the dosage. So we will, again, follow every standard, every rule and regulation that's before us with the Arkansas Department of Health as we move through the process. This is not a choice that we have. This is a mandate. Something else that I think is worth noting is we were funded through this on a reimbursable grant by Delta Dental. That contract was signed in July of 2004. We had 18 months to have this implemented. 14, I'm sorry, what I said, 2014. We have 18 months to have that implemented, so January 1 is the date that we have to have this live, or we do risk that funding.
Okay. Any discussion from the board? Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Williams? Aye. Ramick? Aye. Foley?
Aye.
Davidson?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Carney?
No. It is adopted. Okay, the next.